guys, and welcome back to Mika Reacts and Reviews, where we react and review to things on the internet. And today is going to be a bit of a different video. It's going to be a non-music video, which you know that I'm going to start implementing more into this channel. Also, it helps with like copyright and stuff like that if they're not all music videos. And most of the videos that I want to start reacting to, I want like to be conversation pieces. Of course, we'll do comedy and stand-up as well to get a good laugh in, because we all need that. But today we are going to be reacting to my girl, my friend in the head, Gothix. People have come to my channel and compared me to Gothix, just like on my other commentary channel that I used to do, that I'm kind of just leaving as my backup right now, so you can go just subscribe if you like. But it's gonna just be my backup right now because trying to upload to 3 channels is just way too much. But when I first started doing that channel, people used to compare me to like Candace Owens, which I was just like, I respect Candace Owens. I'm glad she's around. I think she is someone that is needed. Her voice is needed. However, I'm not like Candace Owens. I would say I'm more like Gothix. Candace Owens is way more conservative and traditional than I am. But again, I have all respected that. I understand the values of conservatism and traditionalism, so I think it all needs to be around. But we are going to react to Gothix's video that she did called "The Media is Manipulating You." She said "you" with capital word letters and exclamation marks, so it's you or me or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and react to it. It was released a week ago. It has 125,000 125,000 views and 20,000 likes. Gothix, if you're watching this, please do not copyright strike my channel. Thank you. I'm just a wee little baby. I don't think she was like that, but I've never reacted to a video of hers. Maybe I should have just messaged her first, but you know, we're gonna try this out and see if it works. Also, if you hear any music outside, I apologize. I think there's like a wedding or a festival going on. If you can't hear it, awesome. If you can, that's what it is. But we're gonna keep rolling. I mean, if it's way too much, then maybe I just won't upload this video, but hopefully it's not. If you like videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get notifications when I do upload. All of that helps with the algorithm, guys. And if you feel obliged and you'd like to support this channel, you can donate. My PayPal link will be in the description box below and also in the comment section. All right, let's get right into it.
It's disappointing that I need to make this video for 2 reasons. One being because it's 9 o'clock at night and I don't feel like putting on makeup, so I'm gonna do this entire video with no eyebrows, so tough luck. As I mentioned in my—
I never wear makeup, by the way. Just put it out there. I do use like a slight filter just to be transparent, but slight. All right, let's continue.
My first video, it's not a secret that racism is a hot topic. So hot that many people depend on keeping racism alive to earn a living or to achieve power. Of course, they're not gonna tell you this for obvious reasons, but I assure you that these folks do not give a damn about you. Hi, my name is
Unfortunately, she is true. This is true. She's correct. And I've been saying this forever. That the media, the higher-ups, the 1%, the rich, the elite, the celebrities, the fake woke activists online, the blue check marks, the journalists, they don't give a fuck about you. They care about themselves, their own pockets, their own power, their own fame, their own platform, their own sort of hierarchy to climb the social ladder. And if that means that they have to play along with the narrative, they will do that. They're called race hustlers and race baiters. People like Sean King, who literally make money off of the idea of racism, transphobia, homophobia, sexism, or whatever. People who make money off of the backs of what they say are other people's oppression or whatever. Hence, one of the leaders, the trained Marxists of Black Lives Matter, the organization, buying 4 homes. I thought it was just 1. 4 homes, and one being over $1.4 million and the other one's being close to that. So they don't give a fuck about you. What they do know is that you care about race because they keep pushing it, they keep pushing the conversation, they keep pushing it into your consciousness, into your perception, into your perceived minds. They know that it's something that's sensitive to you, so they're gonna play off of your emotions. And that is why people a lot of times need to separate their emotions from these things, because when you're really emotional about topics or situations or ideologies or whatever, you're easily manipulated. When you're really overly emotional about something, you're really easily manipulated, and then your standards and your principles don't actually stay because your emotions are constantly changing. So that's why sometimes you just have to like separate your emotions and listen to the facts and the data. Just because something is your perception doesn't mean it's your reality. And if you want to know what the facts are, again, go look at the data. And I want to make it really clear, like, I don't think the average person is doing this. Again, when you get likes and validation from the internet, you get like a dopamine boost and stuff like that. So even people who are like posting things out of the goodness of their heart, they're still getting something back in return when they get that validation and that likes and stuff like that. And it can become a very addictive behavior to keep posting things because you just want to get that dopamine or that dopamine. That's when it did that dopamine boost. So even some people who really genuinely came from the goodness of their heart and they're posting these things because they really feel like it's the right thing to do, they're also doing it because they want to be validated. But I feel like if you're on a side of trying to unify and get people to come together, you have to be really careful not to demonize and go for the juggler for just the average, you know, Gen Z or millennial on the internet, because a lot of them are just victims of the narrative themselves. I know it's really easy because it's really fun just and entertaining just dragging people on the internet, but you have to be careful and realize who the real perpetrators of these things are. All right, let's continue.
Gothix, and today we're discussing Stop Asian Hate because, well, the media tells us we should be focused on this, just like they do when they tell us to focus on any other story when they frame their coverage to support a narrative that they want to push, just as they did with George Floyd or generally any incident that involves a black victim and a white suspect. Going back to my original question, I asked you which of these names seemed familiar. If you are outraged about George Floyd, then you should be equally outraged to learn about Tony Timpa, a 32-year-old man who died by the hands of police officers. Did I mention that the officers were also kneeling on him? But if you look at the coverage surrounding Tony Timpa, it's clear that the story wasn't treated in the same way as the coverage surrounding George Floyd. Race isn't mentioned anywhere in the story, and of course, Tony's death didn't spark international outrage. In case you haven't figured it out yet, race hustlers are not specific to black people.
Stop right there, because I literally just watched a video online. I'm not going to name the person, but they were talking about the shooting that just happened in Minneapolis. I believe it's Minneapolis, Twin Cities. And for the most part, they had a really well-rounded view of the situation, because they did see that even though they disagree with the way the police officer reacted, they also disagree with the way the victim or the person who got shot, they also disagree with the way they reacted. But they made a statement that just made me roll my eyes, because it's something that I've heard my entire life, and people have to understand that these narratives have been taught to most people of color or most minority groups to the moment they were birthed into the world. So it's very ingrained and it's very indoctrinated into our minds and into our culture. One of the things that I was taught from a really young age is that, oh well, white people can get away with anything, they can do whatever they want. And the person that I was watching a video today, they said, oh, a white person can cuss out the cops and do whatever they want and run around and reach back into their car and they get treated so nicely. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. Again, perception is reality, but your reality might not be a fact. So if you want to know if that's actually a fact or not, or just your perception, go look at the data. Even per capita, white people are shot more than black people. But white bodies being killed by white cops do not make headlines, they do not sell news, they do not start riots, they do not start protests, and they do not start movements. White bodies shot by white cops are just not sexy. They don't sell. So everybody going around going Black Lives Matter because they say Black lives don't matter, but white bodies not getting the same respect as black bodies when they're shot by cops. I would almost think the opposite of like the white bodies don't actually matter because nobody cares. Nobody knows their names, nobody gives a fuck, and actually the narrative and the perception from a lot of people of color is that, oh, they don't even have to deal with this whatsoever, when they do have to deal with it often. Like, I can hear the argument, and I would like to hear more of the conversation go by to class. I do think if you live in a really poor area, you're probably more harassed by cops than you do if you don't live in a poor area, if you live in an upper class or middle class or upper middle class, or maybe in a nice working class neighborhood, because the poorest neighborhoods get policed more because there's more crime because it's a poor neighborhood. So it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, if you're black, white, Asian, brown, green, whatever. If you're poor, you're most likely going to have more interaction with the police, with police officers in general. But again, when it comes back to narratives, things that have been, again, drilled into our heads since the time that we were little, not every person of color, by the way, but a lot of us, is that we are hunted, right? That's the narrative. We are hunted. Like, cops are literally just waiting to kill black people. And again, if you look at the data, the overwhelming amount of interactions that anybody, but going back to black people, have where cops go, they go just fine. There are millions of interactions that black people have with cops across the United States every day that go perfectly fine and perfectly smooth, and they never get reported because there's nothing to report, right? The very overwhelmingly minority of people who, black people or anybody who has interaction with cops, get shot unjustly, wrongfully so, or and shot dead. It's a very minority compared to the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of interactions that people have with cops on a daily basis. But what the narrative says is they shift it. They make it seem like, no, the minority is the majority. This is what's happening all the fucking time, and it's a really minority cases that people nothing happens if you have an interaction with cops. So it's just a lot. And I'm going off on a tangent because I know this is about that stop hate against Asians, but like, because this has kind of been on my mind lately, it's just like, it's such a detriment to the black community and to the black youth, because like, when you grow up being told your whole life that you're being hunted, you're literally being hunted. You go your whole life feeling that way, feeling that everyone hates you, that everyone's out against you. That is going to warp your brain development. That's going to warp your perception of the world and how you go through life. And I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to try to keep it short. There was a video not too long ago of a black woman who got pulled over by the cops. And first of all, I think the cop was really illy trained because of, unfortunately, defunding the police, or just the lack of respect for cops. A lot of the well-trained cops are leaving the police force, and now there's really the most ill-trained cops left over. Not all of them, I still have respect for the police force, but this cop seemed super nervous the entire time. But anyway, she ended up having drugs in her purse. She literally ran around her car, the cop chasing her around her car. She ended up reaching back into her purse and shooting the cop, and then she ended up getting shot too and running into a tree. So much went wrong with that video, and now so she could have ran because she got caught with drugs and she simply didn't want to go to jail. But the way she was screaming, I honestly think she was scared for her life. She was screaming help but even though she had drugs on her and the cop had every right to arrest her, she was screaming for help as she was running from the police. If you want to help young people understand how to interact with the law enforcement, telling them cops are hunting you and trying to kill you is not the appropriate way to do that. Because if you, every time you get stopped by cops, you instantly think you're going to die and you go into fight and flight mode, you're not going to be able to think right, you're not going to be able to behave correctly, and you're going to be irrational because you've been told your entire life that they are going to kill you. So this is a detrimental narrative to the black community, and I think it really needs to stop, and we need to have a more nuanced, healthier conversation when it comes to interaction with the police. I know it's nuanced, I know it's layered, but anyway, I've been talking too long. Let's get back into it.
Issues. There was recently a mass shooting in Georgia, and we can see how quickly the media labeled this incident as a hate crime fueled by white supremacy. But if you learned anything in my original video, then you should know that the media's job is to report the news, and they're not in charge of homicide investigations. So why would the media outlets try to link this case to racism, even though it was determined that the motive behind the incident was due to a sexual addiction? And regardless of how disgusting that is to hear, a sexual addiction...
I heard about this, and the reason why I think the media is doing that, because I actually saw posts online saying like, just because the person didn't hate the race that they were shooting or killing doesn't mean it wasn't a hate crime. So even if it had nothing to do with them being Asian, it doesn't matter. He was white or Syrian, and they were Asian. Therefore, it's a hate crime no matter what the motivation was, because that is what the narrative needs to be. All right, let's continue.
Is very different from targeting someone specifically because of their race. Not too long after that incident, we had a situation in Colorado where, once again, many people were quick to conclude that this was yet another display of white supremacy. Now, I get a lot of harsh criticisms from people that think my videos are hateful towards black people, or I'm just telling white people the things that they want to hear, despite me sharing factual information which can easily be accessed online by a toddler. The taste of free publicity, especially when it comes from a...
I get this all the time too, even like when it comes back to, let's say, Trump, like people will say something that's untrue about Trump and I will correct them and they will be like, oh, what, so you're like a Trump supporter? And I'm like, me stating facts makes me a Trump supporter? Like, what? And what I try to compare it to is like, let's say somebody like robbed a liquor store, right? And me and someone else witnessed this person rob a liquor store, and the police comes in and say, what happened? And I say, well, he robbed a liquor store. And the next person says, he robbed a liquor store, he blew up a car, and he stole a baby. And I'm just like, but that's not what happened. And then the other witness turns to me and go, oh, so now you're defending a robber? It's like, I'm not defending a robber, I'm just correcting your lies. You're not stating facts. So like, just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you can just lie all over the place because you already think they're despicable, so you can just shit all over them with lies. Like, it doesn't matter, they're already a bad person, so I can just say whatever I want about them. So I get that all the time of like, shh, don't tell the white people this. The white people are gonna have all this ammo against us. It's like, if we don't ever talk about it, then it can't ever change. So we have to bring the conversation out there to talk about it. And if some white person is gonna use that as a reason to be racist, they were racist anyway, and they didn't really need ammo to be racist. Like, they were gonna find a reason to be racist anyway. So telling me that I shouldn't speak truth and facts because of some random racist on the internet, like, that doesn't make any sense. So anyway, let's continue.
My critics, but I digress. My point being, never in my life did I think my mom hated me for telling me I dressed like a slob or I was slacking in school. How do you fix something if you don't know it's broken? Would you rather be lied to? If so, you're watching the wrong channel. The truth...
I just said that. How do you fix something you don't know is broken? If you don't talk about it, if you don't discuss it, things don't change. And that's very true. If you love something and you actually care about it, you will criticize it because you want it to get better. Even though I'm all about everybody, I'm not someone who's like all about division or divisionism or separatism or anything like that. I am black, so I do care and love greatly about my community. And the reason why I criticize it is because I want it to do better. When you don't care about somebody, you will yes man it all day every day because you don't really care if it's going down the wrong road, because you don't actually love that person, love that community actually. Because if you did, you would tell them what they need to hear so they can correct their path and the direction that they're going in. And I also want to speak on the whole like the massage parlor thing. That was because he was a sex addict. Of course, he probably has some other mental illnesses going on, and I really think the other reason why a lot of people didn't want to explore that, because also a lot of those massage parlors are a hotbed for sex trafficking. Just wanted to put that out there. But hey, we can't talk about we can't talk about that because they're Asian, so you know.
Would you rather be lied to? If so, you're watching the wrong channel. The truth is, 27% of violent offenders against Asian victims are black, compared to 24% for white offenders. And regardless if you want to believe those stats because you're desperate to blame everything on white supremacy, you're not entitled to your own reality. And before you...
I love that. I'm going to use that from now on. You're not entitled to your own reality. Go ahead and live in it all you want, but you can't make me live in your weird ass made up reality that you constructed through your own perceptions and your ideologies. I'm good.
You accuse me of creating more division by pointing out facts that are easily accessible to the public. Let me be clear that lying and deliberately spreading propaganda actually creates more division.
True, very true. And it's been really sad to see it develop over the years. I do feel like in the last 6 years, the media has been doing a hell of a good job creating divisionism. I mean, right now you go to universities and there's literally segregation now. And they're proud of it. They are so proud of their segregation. They are so happy that all my ancestors wasted their fucking time like fighting for inclusivity and integration. Like, they are proud of it. That is the world we live in now, and it's really, really sad that people can't see it. A lot of people think if they stay on the victim train, that somehow it's going to benefit them in the end, and it doesn't, because the people who are pushing it are only trying to benefit themselves, not you. Like I try to compare it to like a football game, and I think I'm going a little bit off of topic here, but I'm trying to compare it to like a football game or some sort of sports game. Like, you might get invited to sit on the bench because they feel sad for you because you're oppressed and you're a minority, but they're not going to pick you to ever play the game because only winners get to play the game. So we cultivate this narrative for how long now? It's been decades that people of color are just victims and oppressed and beat down. Who's going to want you on their team? No one's gonna want you. They'll invite you as a charity case, but no one's gonna invite you on their team to play because they don't see you. That's not the narrative that they've been taught throughout their lives and when they went to university and being indoctrinated and all that other stuff. Like, so wanting this narrative that we're victims to just keep perpetuating because you think that somehow and at the end of the day it's going to benefit our community. It's not. And if you're Asian, if you're white, if you're Hispanic, if you're an immigrant, if you're gay, trans, whatever, I am telling you, do not let that narrative take root in your community, because it is hard as hell. It is hard as hell to get rid of, because like I said, a lot of people of color have been hearing about this stuff and have been indoctrinated into them since the moment they were born. And for some reason, some people grabs onto it and other people don't. Like, I just never really grabbed onto it. Victim culture is not sexy. Let's continue. This video.
I know what you're gonna say. Trump ignited all this division in the country because he used things like China virus or Wuhan virus when referencing COVID-19. And you already know my stance on political correctness, but by that logic, if he created more division by using those not politically correct terms, then I would think the media is equally as guilty, are they not?
The Wuhan coronavirus. We have new information about how the Wuhan coronavirus is spread.
Tying coronavirus to China and Chinese people isn't just a racist dog whistle. It's a whole racist orchestra. It's a mighty, mighty racist bass tone.
I hear Stephen Miller in this foreign virus, setting up travel bans for the outside invasion of the disease. That's not the way.
The Chinese coronavirus that they've been
that's
calling
not
it. The first U.S. case of Chinese coronavirus.
The Chinese coronavirus.
This is coming as the Chinese coronavirus.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
This is so fucking true. People have short fucking memories or selective memories, because they would be like thinking, oh no, Trump created that. He made that up. Like, the media was saying Chinese virus for the longest time and China virus. And when the situation first broke out, they were the first ones to say that it was no big deal, that it was just a flu, that everybody being scared of it was just hysteria, and that Trump closing the borders was actually racist. But now, when Biden started running, Trump should have closed the borders earlier. For some reason, people just like either have selective memories, they're not paying attention, or they just don't care. Because this exact same thing, I've had this conversation with people and they're like right over their fucking heads. Right over their heads. Now, whether Trump should have said it or not, that's up to you to decide, but don't be acting like, oh, he created that, when they were saying that before. And matter of fact, if you go back and look, I just saw some old video from Young Turks a few years ago when they were discussing trans women in female prisons. What they said should get them canceled now, because they completely changed their views. Like, if you go back at these old years back at these news stations that seem super progressive now, like Young Turks and like CNN, they grifted so fucking far to the left. Like, the stuff that they're literally trying to cancel and destroy people for saying now, they have said before in the past. And it's not like they've ever come out and said, we correct what we said, we don't really mean it, we've changed, we evolved. They just kind of hoping that you just don't remember. Like, you don't remember what we said. No. That never happened. That was a figment of your imagination. All right, let's continue.
And if we compare the news coverage surrounding violence against Asians, as we did in my previous video for violence against blacks, once again, we can see a trend. 84-year-old killed after a horrific daytime attack caught on video in San Francisco. Interesting. No mention of the suspect's race. All right, let's move on. 3 arrested in beating and robbery of Asian man in San Francisco laundromat. No mention of the suspect's race. Suspect arrested for brutally attacking 2 Asian men in San Francisco. Oh, and big surprise, no mention of suspect's race. But what's interesting about this is the second the media catches wind of a white offender or someone that can at least pass as white for committing a crime against a person of color, rest assured, you'll know what the suspect looks
because
like.
that's what sells headlines, that's what makes the news, that's what starts protests, rioting, movements, and all that. And that's why a lot of people's narrative perspective of reality isn't true, because they don't hear about it in the news. To them it doesn't happen and it doesn't exist, but it does.
And if we consider all the anti-white rhetoric that's been brewing through entertainment, education, and diversity training, it's very clear what agenda is being pushed. Because if the media overlords truly cared about fighting racism, then they wouldn't cherry pick which cases they report as hate crimes depending on what color the suspects are.
And if the media really cared about minorities, they will report all incidents of violence going on in these communities. That's overwhelmingly one of the reasons why these communities, peoples, are actually dying. Black people aren't overwhelmingly being killed by, like, that's not the highest amount of deaths. Like, it's basically inner community crime. If they cared about people of color, they will report on all incidents when they lose their lives. Not only when a white person kills a black person, they will report on all of it because they care so much. They wouldn't want anybody to get away with killing a person of color. They wouldn't want any violence to be caused against a person of color, so they should report on all of it, right? No. That's not how it works. It only works if a white person or someone, like she said, white passing, kills a person of color, because that's what sells headlines. And that's what creates division.
Or is this where the black people can't be racist excuse comes in? Also, where's the public outrage for affirmative action policies that systemically discriminate against Asians? Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, it's actually harder for Asians to get into elite schools such as Yale. On average, Asians tend to do very well academically, so in the name of diversity, school admissions boards have made it harder for Asians to get accepted in order to make room for other people, even if they're not doing as well academically. It's also worth noting that affirmative action policies lead to low grades and high dropout rates for black students. Don't believe me? Look it up.
Yup. You will hear none of these fake woke activists online trying to fight for equality for Asian people when it comes to getting into Ivy League colleges. Nope, they are zip-lipped on that one. Yes, there's been a lot of discrimination against Asian people when it comes to universities. I also posted on my YouTube not too long ago when the Stop Hate Against Asians hashtag started trending, and I posted like, it doesn't seem like anybody cares about the hate against Asians when it comes to Uyghur camps. Doesn't seem like anybody cares about hate against Asians when it comes to North Korea. Doesn't seem like anybody cares hate against Asians when it comes to Taiwan or South Korea or Mongolia or Tibet. Like, there's been shit going against Asians for decades, and I didn't see any hashtags going around for them because it wasn't sexy, it wasn't trendy, it didn't give you likes and clicks. Yes, like fucking fake woke.
Although I don't think you need a fact checker to tell you that accepting a student who has less than favorable grades into an elite school puts them at a disadvantage, which is why I'm always critical about the policy. You really want to help someone? Encourage them to study more or get a tutor instead of making the goal easier to achieve.
Yes, it's called the bigotry of low expectations, and a lot of white progressives and fake wokes practice this all the fucking time. Lower the expectations, lower the bar for people of color because of their oppression or whatever. Like that fucking voter ID video that went viral when a bunch of white kids were saying that black people didn't know how to use the internet, or didn't know how to get to the DMV, or were too poor to catch the bus to the DMV, and that's why voter ID was racist. It's called the bigotry of low expectations. And yes, it is true. The studies have shown that the affirmative affirmative action actually does hurt black students. First of all, it's the psychological aspect of it, like you never knowing whether you got into school because of your own merits or just because you were black. And also, if you're not up there at the same level as other college students in school, and again, you were given no tutoring to catch you up with everybody else, you're most likely going to get discouraged and drop out anyway. So it doesn't help them. And again, if you love someone, if you really care, you will push them to do harder. You will actually raise the bar of expectations instead of lowering the bar of expectations. And I do agree with that affirmative action at some point was needed in the past. Now, not so much.
Easier to achieve. Guys, I'm being serious right now. If you're a critic of my videos and you find my content to be white supremacist talking points, seek help immediately. Take your feelings off the table and actively listen to what I'm saying. You are being manipulated. Make no mistake. This divide that we're seeing in America is deliberate, and it's fueled in part by the media. And if you still think I'm full of shit, try this out for an experiment. The next time a story is reported, pay attention to how the coverage is framed. What circumstances do they mention race? Are they labeling something a hate crime long before a formal investigation has been completed? Is there evidence that contradicts the narrative that's being pushed, like the data I showed you at the beginning of this video? And most importantly, pay attention to which media outlets constantly race bait their articles. Do they lean more on the right or the left? Or both? I already know the answers to all of these questions, but I'm not going to tell you. You know why? Because as I said earlier, I don't believe in making things easier for people. You can research, you got fingers, you got a brain. Now go ahead and use it.
Ah, that was hot. That smoke thing she did was so hot. Ooh, her outro song was hot too. Okay, Gothic, I see you, girl. I love it. She's a rocker girl like me. I agree with almost everything in that video, if not everything in that video. I do think the division is not just between white and black or all the other colors against white. I think the division is created within the communities as well. Like, I think the media has people of color so brainwashed that all Republicans are all scary racists and out to get you. That you will literally disown a person in your own community just because they're Republican. I had this whole long conversation about someone on the internet when Kanye West was talking about how we're so manipulated and we're so brainwashed and we're so distracted that we're not looking at our own selves and looking at our own problems in our own communities. And instead of, people got their fucking unemployment checks and went and got a glow up instead of putting it onto buying land or investing in or buying real estate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not looking at our own issues. Talking about, we can't have generational wealth because of slavery. You could have took that check and you could have started generational wealth right then and there. You could have invested it, and a lot of people didn't. A lot of people went and got a glow up, got their weed, got their wigs, and not just anybody in the black community, but communities all in general. Anyway, I thought the point was really good, and there was a couple of comments in the comment section of people saying like, oh yeah, but like, I think what he's saying is facts, but he still voted for Trump, or he still supported Trump, so I can't believe him. And I'm like, the media got you so fucking manipulated and so twisted and so confused that you're willing to disown or discredit a self-made black man because he liked Trump or he didn't hate Trump or he said that he was leaning conservative or Republican or whatever. Like, they got you that messed up that you're willing to disinvite a black person from the cookout because they're conservative. And usually these black people are usually well off, well educated, because most people who become more educated and become more financially well off usually start to lean more conservative or Republican because of finances. That's why 50 Cent said he didn't want to vote for Biden because he got money. So it's just like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. And it's like it's just so crazy because like the black community conservative, like culturally, especially old school black community, culturally is conservative. They keep voting liberal. Why? They don't have your best interests at heart. They're race baiters. They're race hustlers. That's all they do. Every 2 to 4 years, blame racism instead of acknowledging the failures that they've done to once again have some of the worst cities in America. are usually Democratic cities, by the way. But anyway, I'm done with that. Again, I'm not leaning on either side. I do like the fact that she threw out there that Republicans or conservative television does it as well. Anybody who's pandering too hard towards you is probably usually trying to manipulate you in some way. Just keep that, be aware of that. A lot of these Trump supporters, these politicians who are trying to like pander to Trump supporters and stuff like that, a lot of them are just pandering. They don't care about you either. Just gotta think for yourself. Anyway, I love that video. I would love to do more Gothix videos. So if you want me to do more Gothix videos or any more videos like this, please comment in the comment section below which Gothix videos and which other videos you'd like me to commentary on or react to on this channel. If these are not your type of videos, that's fine. Just come back later when I just do a fun music video. But I do want to diversify this channel because if I don't, I will just get bored. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that helps with the algorithm, guys. Help me grow, help me bring you more entertainment. I also have a travel vlog channel. If you want to know where I am in the world, please go to the description box below. And go subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And if you would like to support this channel, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below. This is a reaction channel, so a lot of videos will be copyrighted, so I won't be able to monetize them. I'm sorry if you can hear the noise outside. It's like a wedding or something going on. It's very distracting. But again, if you'd like to donate, that'd be great. If not, and if you don't think I deserve it, that's fine. You can just like, comment, and subscribe, or dislike and tell me to fuck off, whatever. If you want to call me a bed wench and all that stuff, Uncle Tom, great. You're not original, but go ahead, comment in the comment section down below. I don't give a fuck. But if you do have something you would like to say to add to this conversation, I am open and welcome to that. And yeah, you guys have an amazing day. Bye.